Fred Oswald. We're standing here at the main entrance to the William Oswald Ranch. The ranch is located in the headwaters of the South Fork of the Chalk Creek, which is located east of Colville. My family has owned this property for over 125 years, and I've been the manager for the property since 2002. The property is about 1,500 acres, and we have been a part of the NRCS program since 2008 and part of this Conservation Stewardship Program since 2012. When we began to manage the property, we had two main goals in mind. First of all, we wanted to do a conservation easement on the property so it could never be developed. The other goal we had was the development of a forest stewardship plan, which we did with the State Division of Forestry, Fire and Public Lands. I'd like to show you several of our completed aspen regeneration projects. Aspen regeneration, having a healthy aspen forest, has been one of the most important parts of our forest stewardship plan. All of the projects that I will describe to you are involved in doing some sort of disturbance of the underground clone, which then signals the clone to start regenerating and putting up new trees or ramets and developing a second or third generation of aspen trees. From 2008 until 2012, we actually completed 4 different aspen regeneration projects. We did it with a saw cutting crew of young men and women who came in on site and did what is referred to as a coppice clear cut method. So we went into this grove of aspen trees here and we took out all of the living trees and all of the dead trees, clear cut the entire acreage. We stacked up the branches and burned them. We took the trunks off site and chipped them up. And then we waited to see whether we were going to be successful. This shows you that we did have a success producing a new generation of aspen trees here. This took place about 12 years ago, and you can see the height of the aspen trees now, a healthy new aspen forest on the property. During that time period, we did 3 others that turned out just like this forest. I'm here with Jenny Jo Cox from NRCS. She is my go-to person whenever I have something going on with NRCS, and she's been very helpful with the projects we have up at the ranch.
I understand your first CSP contract was 2013 to 2017?
Correct.
And you had 3 enhancements that you chose to do?
That's right.
Can you tell me about those?
Yeah. The first enhancement was called grazing management to improve wildlife habitat. The second enhancement that we did on the property was monitoring of key grazing areas to improve grazing management for the sheep. And then the third component of that first 5-year plan was something called biological suppression of noxious weeds on the property. We actually discovered that there were 2 different kinds of bugs that if we placed them on the property in 6 different locations, they would come in and eventually those bugs would start to eat their favorite food, which was Canada thistle. Those first 3 components ended up really working well for us. When it came to signing up again for a second 5-year plan, we were told, well, you have to continue those first 3 components and then add at least 2. And we said, great, we would really like to do that. So we continued with the grazing components and the biological suppression of noxious weeds. And then we added 2 new projects. In 2016, we did another aspen regeneration project, but it was a little bit different than the first 4 projects we'd done. So we came down in here, cut down 50% of the live trees, all of the dead trees. We cut them up, took the trunks up to the top and had them chipped up, and then came down and burned all of the branches. And then we waited to see whether all of our hard work was going to be successful. As you can see as we walk down through here, now these new trees that are coming up are now 4 years old. And you can see that aspen generation is really taking place here. We have a number of new aspen trees that are growing along with the first generation. So now we have a whole second generation of aspen trees growing here, and we are very excited about this project. This is the current project that we're involved with. It's an aspen regeneration project, but it has a second component called the biochar component. Scattered among the new aspen trees is some biochar, and it kind of looks like charcoal briquettes, and it has the same kind of substance to it. The biochar that's been scattered on the property, and a brand new aspen shoot that's just coming up in between the biochar chunks. This aspen generation biochar project started in 2018 and ended a year later in 2019. So what you're seeing here, this new growth of aspen here, are only 2 years old. This is our most recent aspen regeneration and biochar project. It actually went on just several months ago in the spring. We came in here, cut down 20% of the live and all the dead trees. We stacked these live trunks here. They are sitting here for anywhere from 12 to 18 months to dry out. Then after they're dry, we'll come back in, we will take these trunks, we'll put them into the kiln, we'll fill the kiln up, putting the trunks this way and then this way and then this way till it's filled up. Start it on fire. It'll burn down over a matter of hours and hours. As it burns down, we'll add more to it until our pile of dried aspen trunks is all gone. And then down here on the roadway, we'll have a water wagon. The water wagon will bring a hose up, and at the appropriate time, we will put out the fire, and what we'll be left with is some wonderful, wonderful biochar, which we can then spread out onto the landscape and enhance the soil here. As you can see, this is only a few months old, but if you look out into the aspen grove here, you can see that we're already getting a new generation of aspen trees. We've seen 7 different aspen regeneration projects, but they haven't all been the same. This project involved a machine, first time, and what we used was a mini backhoe that we attached this tool to the bucket and bolted it on to the bucket. And then my mini backhoe operator went down into here, and he went around in this 5-acre plot. And when he came to an aspen tree, he lowered his bucket and took this and actually cut a root of the aspen tree, and then went to another side of the aspen tree and made a second cutting. So we weren't cutting all of the roots of the aspen tree, we were just cutting a couple from each tree. Why were we doing that? So that the underground clone would say, uh-oh, something's being disturbed. I better start putting up some new aspen shoots. This project only was completed a couple of weeks ago, so stay tuned. The Conservation Stewardship Program really helped us to ultimately achieve the goals that we set out originally to do. But even more than that, I think that It's not something that you do for a year or even for 5 years. It's something that if you're responsible on the landscape, it's something you do forever.
So we actually have some minimum requirements for eligibility for Conservation Stewardship Program. And working with NRCS can be difficult. We are a federal agency. We work closely with our sister agency, the Farm Service Agency. They are responsible for records. They put records into the system. They keep track of our landowners and our producers' addresses, email addresses, field boundaries, and their financial eligibility for programs. And so the first step for applying for funding is to achieve eligibility with those representatives of the Farm Service Agency. We're almost always housed in the same building. We try to make sure that everyone has the help going through the documentation that they need. I have to say, for government work, I think our documents are relatively easy to fill out.
I like to think about it in this way, learning how to swim. When you first learn how to swim, you kind of go in and get your toes wet and your feet wet, but you're not quite sure about whether you want to get in any further than that. And so after a few years of just a project or two, NRCS and Jenny Jo and her predecessor approached us and said, there's this conservation program, let us tell you a little bit about it. And we sat down and talked about it. They were very realistic in terms of telling us that you need to do something that you're passionate about and that's really going to work for your property. It was worth the time and effort and paperwork because we were doing something that we knew would benefit our property. And so when it came time to sign up again, Jenny Jo and her staff said, hey, do you want to do it a second 5 years? And we said, sure. Let's see if we can't find some enhancements that are going to match up with our needs as well as the first 5 years did. And sure enough, we were able to do that. It was a good match for us. And after 10 years, we can say, both from a technical point of view and just from an aesthetic point of view, it has worked. And I like to be able to think that what I'm seeing now is going to be there 10 or 20 or 50 years from now. So that's my goal, that my little 9-year-old grandson, when he is my age, he can look and say, Grandpa, look what we have. I want to thank you for being with us. I've enjoyed having you come and see what activities we've been doing at the ranch. Thank you to all of these individuals and agencies, and we look forward to many more years of working with you and for your support.